Welcome to ADHD Friendly. I'm Patty. I am an ADHD coach. Since 2012, I have been working with clients and creating this podcast, this YouTube channel show, lots of resources, both I have some free ones on my website. I have a paid membership. Everything that we do at ADHD Friendly is designed to help you tilt that playing field in favor of your brain so that we struggle less and thrive more. I invite you to check out my resources on ADHDfriendly.com. This is episode 159, and this week I'm going to be sharing a celebration on one of those things I've created that's new that will be available when this podcast comes out. So I'll share that in just a minute. I'm really excited. And then I will update what I purchased this week. And then I have some fall resets for my tip for the week. And then my topic is how to become unconsciously competent. Oh my gosh, stay tuned. This is a game changer. It's one of my favorite little hacks. All right, and then I'll wrap up with the book of the week and a quote. But let's start, as always, with my celebration. This is a business celebration, also a personal celebration, because it has been such a long time coming. So Becca and I have been working together for over 3 years now. And Becca, I believe when you first started, I was working on the revamp of the personal owner's manual group. And my intention was to create a course and then eventually a manual that would take all of the tools that I've been creating over the years and put it into one nice little package. More than 3 years later, the manual is 90% done. It's in with my graphic designer for final edits and creating, the final package to be able to sell it. But the course that was so long in the making, I did end up adding an extra chapter to it, if you will. So there's 7 chapters in it, 27 new or updated tools. Every single tool has at least had a revamp or has been completely added because I've always wanted it, or I just created it as I was creating the updated course. And it was like, I want this tool, this needs to go in there. So I created new tools. Some of them just came out of a need in the moment, and others were something I'd been trying to create for a long time. And the urgency of making the course finally created the energy to actually go into motion and get them started and made. So when this episode airs, will be available for purchase. And I am just so grateful for the accountability, for the partnership. Even though I can't see you, I am very connected and motivated by anyone, to support anybody that is struggling in any way with ADHD brain wiring. And my hope is that in these new offerings that are coming out, the course now and the new book right behind it, like by the end of the year, very beginning of 2025, it'll be available, are really going to be what we can take and use. So that if I'm not, I don't offer more than 2 live groups a year at the most at this point. So it's just the easiest way to get them on demand and get what you need so you can hit the ground running and begin creating your personalized owner's manual so that you are taking what works for you, leaving the rest behind, and shifting to thriving more with your ADHD. So that's my huge celebration. More than 2.5 years, lots of effort. And it finally took me saying it out loud, me asking members of my ADHD friendly community to partner with me and show up live so that I could follow my structure and get it done. If you're interested in checking out the membership, the course is available for free to all members. It's just in the portal with other courses and tools and live resources. So check it out, ADHDfriendly.com. All right, what I purchased this week. Nothing, which is so exciting because I purchased so much. I didn't need to purchase anything else. It really kind of held that, like, I'm done. All right. I feel like I just have to comment. Becca's being so quiet because we've gotten some feedback that her in the background, not being, kind of at the same place I am for the microphones, isn't working for everybody. And so it's a little distracting because she's doing this like good stuff. She is here. She's being very mindfully quiet. All right. I think you can laugh, Becca. She's like, all right. Here's my tip for this week. These are some fall reset ideas. These are from Real Simple Magazine. I love the idea of resets and using them to support us to kind of shift something that it might be a place or an area that we're struggling and just move forward with a little bit more ease. So I'm just going to share 3 of these. I had a bunch of them in the most recent most recent edition of the Real Simple Magazine. So the first is, this is one of my favorites because it took me years to get there. Bail on that book that you're just not feeling. I have gone from being a person who believed that if I was reading a book, I had to finish it, which really got in the way of me reading because I wouldn't allow myself to move on until I finished it. And if I wasn't interested in it, I could stop reading for years. Like, it was just such a barrier. And if I was in a book club, I felt such that accountability that I can't show up not having read the book that we were supposed to read this month, that it became a real obstacle to me enjoying the book clubs and reading because I didn't like what I was reading. And so this little tip to, if it's feeling like work, let it go. There's so much good reading out there. There are more books than you could possibly read in a lifetime that are amazing. Why waste your time reading something that you're not enjoying? So be picky is, the recommendation. So I love that because even though I made a new rule a few years ago that I would give any book 50 pages, and even that started feeling like a chore to get to 50 pages if I really just wasn't feeling it, that now I kind of have this get to the end of the chapter, the first chapter, and see what I'm feeling, or try a different format of the book. So if I'm trying to read it and I'm not loving it, I might listen to the first couple of chapters and see if that gets me into it. And then I'll go to the written book or the ebook. And a lot of times that will allow me to get into a book that I wasn't really enjoying. If people are like, oh my gosh, you've just got to get through the first few chapters, you're going to love it. And so I have to find ways to get through those first few chapters. So I love that tip. So just bail on the book if you're not feeling it. What would it be like to give yourself permission to put it down and pick up something that you can't put down? Oh my gosh, I love reading. Okay. I actually missed Wordle today because I was listening to an audiobook and I refused to stop listening because it was at this critical point where one of the main characters was literally dying and he was narrating his own death. And because he's in a coma and he was like saying everything he saw and he heard, and you realize, is he going to die? Oh my gosh, is he going to die? And I'm trying to do Wordle, which probably wasn't the great idea. Remember, multitasking is worse than a lie. And I didn't get it because I just kept, I don't know, let me try these. And then I'm like, and it's like, oh, no, that wasn't it. And I'm listening and I'm like, oh, he's dying. What else could it be? Totally didn't get it. All right. Tip number 2, swap out one little home decor idea. This one's going to look familiar. I'm going to make you talk here, Becca. We're going to break through it. Do you remember?
I use it. I have it in my kitchen.
Do you love
it? Love it. I use it every day.
Okay.
Anthony loves it too.
Right. I got this tip from Martha Stewart from her. It was just like an email newsletter. And I don't remember what the title was. It was a couple of months ago. And I loved it. So the tip was take an olive oil dispenser and add dishwasher or dish soap to it so that you put it on your sink and it makes such a pretty way to dispense your dish soap in the kitchen instead of having, a bottle of Dawn, or I have one of those brushes with it's a dispenser within itself. The dispenser part never works. Like, it's like I have to have it really, and then I always have to unscrew and refill. This is so sparkly that I ended up giving it to Becca as just like a small little gift because I was like, I am loving this thing. So, and I think it was like, I don't know the price on it anymore. I swear it was like $5.
It makes doing the dishes so much fun.
Right? It's like, oh my gosh, I just love it so much. And I mean, look, it's literally been used for months and I did wipe it down just a little bit before this.
Yeah, it doesn't really get dirty either.
No, you just rinse it off. It's lovely. And it keeps it, I mean, look, and I've not refilled it yet. Like, it keeps it really, well, I'd have to admit, I don't wash a ton of dishes. I'm using my dishwasher.
Right.
But when I'm washing pots and pans and things, it just makes it a very specific, I can get it exactly where I want. I love it. And it was just a quick, energetic way, little home decor.
Brighten up your kitchen.
Little hack. I found it so sparkly. I got this at I think it was Home Goods, which is just such a great, fun place to go and find little inexpensive treats. So that's my little tip, or that's Real Simple's tip, my example. Okay, and third, plan your snacks. So they share this again from Real Simple, because I found this a little disturbing. So I want to make sure this is not me saying this. They say adults in America eat the equivalent to an entire meal in snacks every day. Okay. So they say researchers, I don't know who these researchers are, recommend planning your snacks. So they said, if you plan what you're going to have for like a mid-morning snack and or a mid-afternoon snack, you are being very intentional about what you're going to eat. So you are not just in that, what I call default mode, and you're just grabbing whatever is, it's always, to me, my example is always like the Oreos on the counter. You write it down so you remember. That's like that ADHD portion there, because often we'll think, oh, I'll have a pear, and then I'll have, like, we're thinking about it, but then, or I'll have like some avocado toast or something in the afternoon. And then we'll forget, and we go in and there's, oh, I forgot we had that ice cream in here, or whatever it is. So planning out, and then if, I always recommend writing it down so you remember your plan, and write it where you're going to see it. So if you write it like on your daily planner, and your daily planner is nowhere near the kitchen, unless you're looking at it like, what was my plan? Oh, that's right. Let me go get that. Or you pack it. So you're remembering, if you're taking like your snacks to work with you or whatever it is, where would you need to write it so that you're prompting yourself to remember your intention? So that's it. I'm going to skip my little, well, I'll share a little bit. So this is my tiny little word from our sponsor. I have already shared the new resources available to members in ADHD Friendly with the new course that is in there for free. You can also buy it a la carte if you're interested. But I did want to share that, since we are now in November, the focus in the membership community is on the holidays. So preparing for the upcoming holidays here in America, and self-care. So whether you celebrate any holidays, the end of the year is coming, and self-care is really a priority this time of year, because it's just busy. We have a lot we're trying to get done before the end of the year. So today at 12 Eastern, we'll be doing a power hour body double. That means I share a little bit of information, some tips if it's helpful. And then for the majority of the hour, we body double, and we're going to be working on a holiday budget. You can do whatever works for you during the body double time, but it's structured to support you to do the thing that we are focusing on. And then on the 13th of November, same time, we are going to be body doubling around planning for the holidays. So whatever that looks like for you. It might be buying your plane tickets. You might be online shopping for gifts. You might be making a list of what you want to remember to buy at the store. Whatever it is, it's literally holding the space for you to do it. And then November 20th, we will be doing a body double focused on self-care. So it'll be literally an intentional time that we come together, and we will be doing something that feels like self-care. Visit ADHD-Friendly.com for more information if that sounds like something that would support you to try it a little bit more in the upcoming month. Remember, you can cancel anytime. It's very ADHD friendly. Check it out. All right. So now for the main topic for this episode, becoming unconsciously competent. So this is based on the Conscious Competence Theory. And I first learned about this theory from my friend and colleague, Sherry Cannon, who, when she shared it, I just remembered I've had so many, I'm very visual. There's a lot of visual structured tools that I really gravitate towards. And then others that my brain, it's almost like this, it's going to hurt my head to try to wrap and connect to that. It just doesn't work for me. This is one that immediately worked for me. So I'm going to share an image that kind of shows how it works. So I always say we start here. This is literally my image where I have that little note to remind myself, start here. We start being unconsciously incompetent. So what that means is we're not even aware of what we're not aware of. This happens a lot in coaching. So this is like one of the things I love talking about, is we're not really motivated to change things we're not aware we're struggling with. So we're not even aware that we don't know. So that's where we start at. Once we become aware of something that we don't know how to do well, we become conscious of it. So we're now aware of our incompetence. This is really uncomfortable, especially if we have ADHD. So it's that I'm aware I don't have this skill and I'm not proficient in it. And I don't, it's almost like I'd rather not have known that. A lot of people in coaching would be like, it was more comfortable not even being aware that I wasn't good at that. And now that I'm aware of it, I can't ignore it. And it's definitely uncomfortable. And I have to say, with ADHD brains, this is where a lot of us quit.
Yeah.
We have this sense of, I'm not even going to focus there because I'm not going to be able to do it. So I don't want to think about it. And we just bury it. After we become consciously incompetent, we then, the next stage, as we work on it, become consciously competent, which means we can intentionally focus our mind and our energy on the thing and do it. So it requires that intention, it requires energy, it requires focus, but we can do it when we're focused on it. So we've increased our skills that now we can do it consciously. And then the ultimate place we're trying to get to is that unconscious competence, where we can do it without even thinking about it. It becomes automatic. Okay. So it's about moving from not knowing you aren't good at something to eventually doing it effortlessly. And you do it in stages. We can't go from not knowing that we don't even know how to do it to becoming unconsciously competent without going through the discomfort of the other stages. It's just part of the process. So this process underlines a growth mindset. It's literally highlighting you can go from not even knowing you don't know how to do something to being really unconsciously able to be competent at it. But we have to acknowledge that we can be uncomfortable with not knowing we know how to do it if we allow ourselves to practice so we become competent at it, and then we become unconsciously competent at it. With ADHD, like I said, we struggle in stage 2, realizing we can't do something. We have to be self-compassionate here. We have to be able to give ourselves the permission to recognize we're stepping outside of our comfort zone into something that we are not good at yet. And this happens in a lot of different ways for us. And so I wanted to just share that these come up in coaching work a lot, where we don't know what we don't know. And it's uncomfortable when that happens. And my best example of this came from a group member when I was doing, and this, if you were interested, this is part of the Personal Owner's Manual course that is now available on ADHD-Friendly.com if you'd like to purchase it on demand, or you can get it in the membership if you're interested in checking out the membership. But in the 4th session on time management, I talk about time horizons. And I remember I was doing a live group, and there was a member of that group that got really agitated, like was very upset, because when I talked about time horizons and how far out, basically a time horizon is how far you can see from where you are right now into the future. And I talked about how long most people can see into the future, and how with ADHD, because our time management executive function is almost always impacted, how far we can see into the future is less. And this participant got really agitated because they never understood that their time horizon wasn't the normal time horizon. And when they realized that other people could see much further into the future, it was like this light bulb went on of awareness of, oh my gosh, that's why people can just plan things out in the future, and they can get started now, even though it's not due for a couple of weeks, because they can feel the urgency of that time, where they couldn't until it was like 2 days out was pretty much their time horizon. And it was really uncomfortable to recognize that. And that is that, they went to the stage 2. They went from not being aware at all to being uncomfortably conscious of their incompetence in that area. What I love about that experience is, and I always say in coaching, like, I'm not excited that you are, aware of something you don't know how to do, but if we don't have that awareness, we're not motivated to change it. So I wanted to share a couple of examples where this might really connect with you if that example doesn't connect with you. So one that most of us have experience with is learning how to drive. So you might have grown up watching your parents drive or other people drive, or even if you've rode like public transportation, other people are driving. So you've seen it, you're like, okay, it looks really simple. Or maybe you drove video games, you're like, yeah, I'm going to rock this. I got this. But you go to drive and you realize you're really you literally are behind the wheel, and you have that feeling of, oh my gosh, I don't know when to brake. I don't know how hard to push on the gas. Like, you are completely incompetent, and you aren't even aware of it until you got behind the wheel. And then you went to that, I am now conscious of how incompetent I am. But then with practice, and if you remember this is a very visceral memory for me. You can drive, but it takes so much focus. I remember no music on, don't talk to me. Everything was completely dialed in. I can do this, but I need to completely. And it was always like, when I got from my point A to point B, it was like this, like I can put it in park, turn off it was the key at that time, take the key out and be like, oh, I did it. Okay. And then all of a sudden one day you realize you drove and you didn't even remember how you got from point A to point B, because it was so automatic.
Yeah.
It got to that unconscious competence. Okay. That's my first example. The other is building a daily planning habit. So if this is something that you don't do, or you don't even have an awareness of why you should be doing it, you might be at that place where you're unconsciously incompetent, right? It's like, I don't even, why would I do that? I do fine. I go about my day. And then maybe you wake up one day and you realize, I am tired of missing appointments. I'm tired of running late. I'm tired of people telling me that I'm not reliable because I don't remember what I've committed to because I didn't have it down in a planner. And so you go for that unconscious incompetence to recognizing that there are steps involved in planning out your day. So it's like, I don't need to do that. I know, I'm sure I'm fine. And then you realize, like, if you go down to use a daily planner, like, how do you even do a daily planner? What do you mean? And so it's uncomfortable. And so then maybe you're in that conscious incompetence. So you're struggling with the coordination of your schedule, with the timing, with how much time things actually take. All of this is new. So you're really uncomfortable, but you're aware that this is something that you don't do well. And now you may be more motivated to work on it because you have that awareness. Then you go to conscious competence, where you're really putting structure around, okay, I need to do this. And I know it helps me, but I have to write down the steps. I have to remember each of those steps. I have to really give myself time to do it every day and put reminders to do it and alarms or whatever it is. And then eventually over time, you reach this point where suddenly you realize you're uncomfortable if you didn't do your planning. It's like, oh my gosh. I remember that happened to me when I first started planning, and I was working as a librarian in my son's school, and I got to school and it was a teacher work day, and I'd left my planning forms at home. And there was this like strict, like what you were allowed to print on the school printer thing. And I was so uncomfortable. I was like blind. I literally was like, I can't plan out my week at work without my planning sheets. So I had to go and ask the administrator if I could print something that was a personal tool, not a school tool, but I was that uncomfortable. And for people that know me, like, I don't like asking for things. I just want to make do. But I was felt like I was flying blind that I needed my planners. I needed my tools, and they let me print them. And then I went about and I got everything planned out. And it was just this awareness of, oh my gosh, I was like doing it automatically. And without my tools, I was really back to struggling again. And I didn't want to go back to struggling. So those are just two examples. I encourage you to explore if there's a way, and you can find this online, this little image, if it helps you. I print it out because now I'm very visual. I like the image of it. It's also a way to help to just recognize where you are, again, without judgment. Just, oh, how interesting. I wasn't even aware that was something that I'm not strong in, or that I don't have skills in. To what do I need to strengthen a little bit so that I'm now aware that something I'm not good at, but I'd like to become better at, so that you're becoming more conscious intentionally, to where over time it comes automatic. I like brushing your teeth. When you first were learning how to brush your teeth, you're like, I'm done. Are you? You know, like when they're kids and they come out like, oh, I'm like, let me see. When I was a kid, they had those. Did you ever do the chew thing where it turns your teeth a different color to show you where the plaque still is? And it was like, gosh, I'm totally incompetent. It's another great example. So using the conscious competent theory can be an ADHD-friendly way to just observe where you are and what would you need to go from where you are to where you want to be, with a little bit more ease always. Okay, now wrapping it up here, the book of the week. All right, I'm going to say very little about this book because it's a sequel. Ooh. It's the sequel. That's the title of the book. It is by Jean Humph, and I apologize, Jean. Corlitz, I believe. She wrote the plot, which is the original of this series of 2. I thought it was really funny that she named it the sequel. But I really, what I'm going to do is read a little excerpt of this, just a quote from somebody that reviewed the book, because if I tell you anything about the sequel, it will tell you what happened in the plot. And I hate people ruining books for me. And it was one of the reasons I found out about this book in my big fall books meeting at my local library, because this just came out on October 1st of this year. And I realized when I went to the meeting, the book wasn't out yet. So I was like, well, I'm going to read the plot really fast, and then I'll be ready for when the book comes out. And that way I won't have to worry about it being spoiled for me. And this is not a book that you want to read the first book, because it does such a great job of tying details into the second. So it was a very satisfying sequel, which is, in my experience, not always the case. So here's a quote from somebody that reviewed this book. It says, with her signature wit and sardonic humor, Corlitz gives readers an anti-hero to root for, while illuminating and satirizing the world of publishing in this deliciously fun and suspenseful read. I completely agree. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. And I don't like a lot of these suspense books, but I've been reading a lot of them because it seems to be the fall theme. I guess it's just fall in general with Halloween, maybe. But I really did enjoy it. And I did oddly find myself rooting for the anti-hero, which I remember like there were certain points in the book and I was like, am I hoping that this person comes out on top? Because it's not really what you expect.
Yeah.
So it was well done. Well done, Jean. Okay. Now for the quote of the week, and this is tied to the 4 stages theory that I just shared. And I've shared this quote before, but this was what resonated with me the whole time I was planning this episode. So I'm going to share it again. And that is, practice and tomorrow you'll be better than today. And I believe I got that from Arnie. Of all things, when my kids were little, I used to just love that mantra of, yeah, like when they were learning how to ride a bike, learning how to roller skate, learning how to color, learning how to, anything they were doing, like practice, and tomorrow you'll be better than today. And so that's how I feel about this conscious competence theory. It's uncomfortable to realize you're not good at something, but if you practice, then tomorrow you'll be better than you were today. So that's my quote. All right, guys, that's it for episode 159. As always, if there's something that resonated with you, a tip to share, something that you did for a fall reset, or if you try the conscious competence theory, would love to hear your experiences with it. Until next time, tally ho.